Welcome back to the Jewish Music Platform. Tuvia Kopstein here, and in this episode, Moshe Sherazin and I have the privilege of sitting down with the great Yitzhak Attias of Jerusalem. If you don't know who Yitzhak Attias is, we are very happy to make this introduction. He is making completely unique, beautiful, personal music. Check out this clip from his release, Azamer.
אזמר בשבחים למעל גופתכם דבחק על תפוחים דהינון קדישים
Breath of fresh air. You see, we're dealing with unique and personal, soulful music. We're happy to introduce you to Yitzhak Attias, but first, a thanks to our sponsors, Bunny and Shandy Friedman, and Shua and Razel Spurkel. Thank you so much. Anyone can sponsor the Jewish Music Platform, but even if you're not feeling so altruistic, do it to promote your business, promote somebody else's business. Give me an email at ravtuvnetwork@gmail.com, RAVTUV network@gmail.com, and we'll get a conversation started. Without further ado, the Jewish Music Platform with Yitzhak Attias. Okay, welcome back to the Jewish Music Platform. We are welcome, Moshe.
Yeah.
We are so happy.
I'm excited.
I'm so happy to be here, and Moshe, I hope you're happy.
I
can tell you're happy to be here with Yitzhak Attias from Jerusalem. Welcome, Rabbi Yitzhak.
Welcome.
I was going to say welcome.
And I have to start with a personal story about the music of Rabbi Yitzhak, and I share this with Rabbi Yitzhak already, and now with our listeners. The year was Taf Shin Samach Base. The year was 2002, and I was coming to Israel, not my first trip to Israel, but my first trip as a yeshiva student. I was starting yeshiva for the first time, and the flight was going from Los Angeles to Toronto to Tel Aviv, and it was a Thursday afternoon flight, and it was running a little late. So we arrived in Tel Aviv and Ben Gurion at very close to Shabbos. And on the flight, for some reason, they put me in this flight in first class. It was a mistake. It was the best mistake ever. It was an amazing flight. And I became friendly with a man there whose name was Erez Jacobi, and he lives in Nof Ayalon. And Erez, we spoke in Toronto. He said, listen, if it comes too close to Shabbat, you can come to me. And that's what we had to do. I got to spend the first Shabbat ever as a Shomer Shabbat in Eretz Israel with the Jacobi family. And guess what they sang at the Shabbos table? Like this. Karibon olam ve'al maya atubanko. And I thought this was great. I'm coming from a music background. I play the trumpet, and here's this Latin jazz version of Caribon, of one of the Zmiros that we sing on Shabbos. And I asked them about it, and this was a favorite of theirs. They had Rabbi Yitzchak's first album. What was the name of that album?
Gather the Sparks.
Gather the Sparks. And so I became aware of some beautiful Jewish music that really fused the world I was coming from with the world I was entering at one of my very first experiences in Eretz Israel. And it's my regret. I lived for 5 years, 5.5 years in Rabbi Yitzhak's neighborhood, and I didn't reach out to him at the
Right.
time, even though I was doing musical projects from time to
It's
time.
time to move back.
And,
Aye.
and the only excuse I have is because I really sunk myself into my studies, and I'm sure Yitzhak doesn't
Ah.
mind
I don't
doesn't
mind
mind that. But but
that.
but we now got connected, and we're now very pleased to speak with you
Yeah.
about your music and your story.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'll
Okay.
just say welcome as well. Nice to see you. Rabbi Yitzhak, nice to meet you face to
Thank
face.
you so much. Wow.
I know a lot of our listeners are familiar with your music, but many are not. Your music is like way outside the box. Like if there's a box, like it's a different measurement. Your music, I believe. I'll let Tuvia get into it and
Okay.
learn more about you and your music.
Now, for me, it's interesting you say it's out of the box because it depends. It's definitely out of the box in terms of what we think of as Jewish music, but in terms of what's out there in Latin jazz,
Right.
and
Mhm.
it's he's taking that and putting it into
Mhm.
putting the
Mhm.
Jewish music together. So, and by the way, for our listeners, Rabbi Yitzhak, you are the percussionist or the drummer on many albums that people know and are familiar with. They just might not know because they don't read the liner notes. but but you've been in the
We
on the
definitely want to
scene.
hear about that. Yeah, we definitely want to hear about.
Yeah,
You know,
you've been on the scene for many years. Okay, so Rabbi Yitzhak, please, enough of us. Please share with us your journey, your musical story, your Jewish story. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay, so I was born in Gibraltar. And Gibraltar is actually it's used to be like a British colony. I think it's something else nowadays, but it's the British conquered it about 300 years ago from Spain, and I grew up in this colonial kind of reality, a very strong Jewish community. About then it was about 600 Jews. I am told it's more now. Or most of us descendants from Spain, from the exiles of Spain. Um, so culturally, I grew up in a British colony, listening to a lot of regular rock music, the Beatles, whatever was was playing then, and but at the same time, the flamenco and the Spanish music and Latin music, and also Gibraltar is about 14 miles away from Morocco, so there was also that influence of Africa, North Africa, and so culturally it was really, really a very interesting sort of chilled, of influences. I'm talking about musically. I come from a traditional Sephardi um, family. When I say traditional in Gibraltar, there's no such thing as religious or not religious. Basically, people are individuals, and people keep what they keep, as is I think common in the Sephardi world. Um, some people more devout than other people, but everybody believes in God, and that's what I grew up with. Like, very proud to be Jewish. We whatever we knew we kept, whatever we did not know we didn't keep. But very rich and very God fearing, I would say. At the same time, at least for me, I don't. Obviously, I'm not speaking about anybody else. For me, the way I interpreted that was I would go to Bet Knesset on Shabbat, but most of Shabbat I would go and play in nightclubs. I mean, that's what I was doing. So there was no stira, there was no contradiction in that. I'm a musician, so that's what I wanted to do. Um,
When did the music? When did you start studying music, playing music, and performing?
and what's your main instrument?
I'm a percussionist, which means that I play many different kinds of instruments. I started with bongos and congas, and my sort of musical premise then was a lot of I don't even know the band Santana, but it's like a
Oh yeah,
Latin rock, kind of. That was I guess was like a '60s, '70s band. He's still going strong, but so I grew up in that kind of music. Um, but I like that band especially because it always had the spiritual side to it, and I really related to that. Like that was something that was always very important for me. The spiritual question that I felt within the music.
are you singing in the songs of Santana or the?
I mean, he himself, Carlos Santana, he's a very spiritual person in his own way.
Hmm.
So I interpreted that as I was growing up as a teenager. I needed to find things that I could relate to within Judaism, the Judaism that I knew, and and the music that I wanted to express. Um, so if you want me to, I'll jump. I'll just when I came to Israel, and I realized what the regular Hasidic music was like. I'm talking about like way back in the 80s, very early 80s.
Can I ask
Uh,
how old were you and what brought you to Israel?
well, I mean, I came to a kibbutz when I was 18. Um, Basically, I grew up in this very traditional Sephardi community, very strong. I have to be very honest. I There was something that I felt was lacking for me. I was looking for something much more spiritual, um, and wasn't really quite finding it. I had a friend who became a Chabadnik. He played some Chabad records to me, and in the middle of that record, there was a recording of the Lubavitcher Rebbe singing Tzam Alecha.
Wow.
Yeah, and when I heard Tzam Alecha, it went straight into my neshama. I just felt like this is something that's deep, really deep. It's not, like like kind of Hasidic, stuff that was here. I couldn't relate to it at all. This was something heavy and deep and profound, and you know, you listen to jazz, so we sort of venerate people like whatever, all the people that we venerate as jazz musicians. They're very deep, John Coltrane or whatever. This was something that was just like really, I think it swept everything away when I heard that. And what it also showed me, there was the depth and the possibility of doing something with a lot of neshama that was really Jewish and not commercial and wasn't a sort of simplistic. Um, and it stayed with me, and Tzam Alecha stayed with me. I would say that Tzam Alecha was a major turning point for me. And and then, several years ago, when I came up with my second album, Reshimu, I ended up recording Tzam, I would say a translation of Tzam, through who I am, just
Filtered through your
yeah,
neshama.
filter through my soundscape. That's really what I was trying to do. So, yeah, I mean, when I came to Israel, I began to play with a lot of people. There were not a lot of percussionists then there, so naturally, whenever they needed percussion, they would, I would be called. And thank God that some amazing percussionists nowadays here. Um, and I played with a lot of people. I performed with a lot of people. I recorded with a lot of people, pretty well-known people, and it was an amazing. Honestly, I really felt like Hashem put me through this. Academy of live academy of not just music but people that were really fine, and I was very young, it was like in my early 20s. And
So who were you playing with? Back in the '80s, who were you playing with in
so the
Israel?
first person that really, I would say, took me under his wing big time was a man that I really owe so much to, called Moshe Yes from the Megama
Wow.
Duo. Yeah. And at one point, he opened up a little nightclub here in Yerushalayim, and I was
Yeah.
just playing with him. I was with like not a duo, 'cause I can't think I was, but I was basically backing him up alone, and that was it, just to be with him and around his phenomenal talent and the way he was as a person, and how much I honestly, like, he was just a spiritual mentor for me also. Like, I learned so much from him. Um, so that was one person that I really um, gained a lot from. And then there were many other people, Mordechai Ben David, or in terms of people really, really famous. When I met my wife, she actually had been playing with Rabbi Shlomo Kalbach, so I ended up playing with him also a lot here in Israel. Um,
Your wife is a musician.
she's a musician, she plays flute, she's a flautist. Um, So whereas I really hadn't didn't really, that wasn't so much the circles of friends that I had, but that was sort of an entrance point that I ended up playing with him also. Um, and then a lot of host of people here that I ended up playing with. But again, it was always I was backing them up and applying my instruments and sounds to that kind of music that was either um, um, Hasidic or bluegrassy or rocky or folky, country. It was always sort of North American-y, you know, and
Mhm.
it was really it's a lot of fun to apply like your sounds and where you're coming from in your culture to music that's slightly not foreign but not really sort of the mama kind of the mama Latin music. And so that when I recorded my first album, Gather Sparks, and then for me at least, closer to my heart, Rashimo, which was recorded more past few years, you know, um, especially with Rashimo, I did not take under account any kind of um, limitation, musical limitation or creativity, and not even commercially, and not even the length of the songs. You know, you're always told to keep the songs within like 4 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, 2 minutes, 7 minutes.
Yeah, that kind of thing. You know, I went like 9 minutes. You know, I just felt like I just want to give people music, and yeah, the other thing I just want to mention about I think my approach to music is that many years ago when I was a young teenager, I came across a record of Brazilian music, but Brazilian music that was using a lot of natural sounds. And when I heard that, I just felt like, what is this? Like I'm hearing things that sound like rain, or like gravity stones falling, or like different bells or goat bells. I was just so intrigued, and I began to hunt for anything that sounded natural and earthy, and so in my recordings you hear a lot of that. I really am a big believer in that. And which brings me back to the my latest my second album, Rashimu, that one of the things I was trying to do there, and I hope it has had some success, is that I really was trying to get people, I'm still trying to get people um, out of the kitchens, even if they have to be in the kitchen and listen to the music, but at least out of the kitchens, the offices, whatever it is, at least the minds can be transported to a place of nature, of things that should remind us of Hashem. That was really my intention. Whether that happens or not, I don't know if
No, I want to thank you for that. But
I want to say that when I listen to this music, I feel like I'm in a raft in a rainforest, going through the river,
yeah,
and I see exotic animals all around me. And that's what I just surrounded, and I love that sound. This a sound that I first probably the first introduction to that sound for me as growing up was Paul Simon did an album called The Rhythm of the Saints.
Right. So again, so yeah. So he does that because if I'm not mistaken, I don't know, I don't remember how many percussionists, but I think he hired like three or four apart from the drummer. But he had, I think, about three or four percussionists at one point, and some of them definitely were South American, and so they Brazilian, whatever. And they were bringing in those sounds that, again, they sound to us you know, um, like from the jungle or from places like that. But for me, for me, I live in Harnof, and I the forest is one of the reasons I live in Harnof. And so for me, these are the sounds that express what's going out with the tree, what's happening with the trees, or with the leaves, waving in the wind, or whatever it is. That's their soundtrack, and for which I think Hashem is providing all the time. We just have to pick up on that, And so yeah, for me, the natural sound is very important. I love playing rhythmic percussion instruments, and I love grooving, and I actually teach percussion. Um, but this is the idea of actually creating like um, like a soundscape using pods or bells or I mean a lot of different things that I have. It's really exciting to me. Yeah.
What are pods?
Oh, pods are things that grow on trees. I wish I could show you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Show us some
Yeah.
pods.
I have a
We
couple
thought
at
this
home.
we thought this was a pod, but sorry.
So I made this.
Yeah, we would love a little show and tell. Rabbi Yitzchak, you have things, and you make music with instruments that we haven't seen in our some of us. Oh wow.
So
Wow.
these are
Oh,
pods
it looks like
from
art.
the Far East, and these I think these are from the Andes. And
You put them together,
well,
or
I
it's
mean,
two
I put
different.
them. It's an instrument. I tie this to my thigh, and I play on it. With one hand, and the other hand I play other things. But I mean, you can actually.
It's powerful. What can I say?
Anyway, so these are pods.
It has a. Those are pods. Okay. And Ravitza, also I noticed that I haven't seen much of the video, but that you put out. But I noticed that Ezkira. I see that what you're doing you're doing some very interesting video work as well. You're creating a mood, a smoky evening, nighttime. So can you give us some insight into what you're doing with video now?
Okay, so I met this guy who is his name is Yanai. Lina, he's an amazing person. He's an amazing young man. And I met him in somebody else's. I did this video for somebody else, and he was actually filming the video, and I was really impressed by him. Anyway, I ended up hanging out with him, and I discussed what I wanted to do with this song, and which is um, I wanted to somehow convey a sense of magic and mystery and uh, search, searching for Hashem when you don't see him. That was really the theme of like, was as opposed to, oh, I'm in the forest and I feel Hashem. No, I'm actually. It's all about Eskera. If you read the Tehillim, it's all about David HaMelech saying, "I remember my melodies at nighttime. Dafka at nighttime when I don't see Hashem. Im lavi v'asicha," which means that with my heart, I converse, and my soul searches. So the whole song is about searching, and he really picked up on it like amazingly, and he was able to give the whole video a twist that it really surprised me. I mean, just it was filmed in an amazing place that he found for me actually, and it's underneath this amazing tree. And he put out lights and smoke, like a smoke machine, and the whole big thing became like an experience. I mean, just doing the video itself left us with this really magical moment. Now, why magic? I I'm talking purely as I hope I can say a good law abiding from Jew. Like I
Not
think
the. We're
people
not
need
talking
that.
about the magic that's forbidden. We're talking about when you use the word
No.
magic, you mean something that is metaphysical, correct?
Yeah, because people need that nowadays. People need that now. People need color and they need music and they need inspiration and they're getting in the movies, and and it works, So okay, we have these musical havdalahs that we do at home whenever we can do it. Whenever my boys are here for Shabbat, so we'll advertise and a lot of people come. I mean, we don't have such a big house, we just live in an apartment, not enough. But like like 60, 70 people will come in here and we don't even know where they're coming from. It's just and we always have the house like very low light, and colored candles everywhere. And I think it's important nowadays because people are being bombarded with such an amazing amount of what's the word I'm looking for, stimulation, stimulus, yeah. And I think that when and everybody comes with their own private little window into that stimuli or stimulus, whatever, which is the cell phone. So you're already in a disadvantage. So I think it's really important that when people come and we're playing music, that they come into already an environment that's already prepared to try to somehow alter your state of consciousness in a legal way, and no, no substances, in a
In fact,
clean
the
way.
introduction, when my friend sent me the link to Ezgira, he said, I don't have to do any hallucinogens because I could just watch this video and I have the whole experience.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Look, I feel like, if you're learning Torah that is deep and profound, and you have the big zechut of also playing or listening to music that is deep and profound, that's all the Nevi'im, that's all they had. We don't have any records of them taking anything other than that. It was always, they were amazing Talmidei Chachamim, and they had musicians with them, sometimes all the time. The academies of Nevi'im had musicians with them. And the music is very transportive. It does it. It really does do something to the mind, and that's very ethereal and spiritual. So with Esquerra, I really was trying to create that kind of, again, pulling you out of your mundane domain, kitchens or whatever you're sitting at, and just getting you out there into Hashem's natural world. One of the reasons I love, look, I'm very, I don't know, you might have figured it out by my music also, but one of my main inspirations is Rabbi Nachman, and I've been learning his stuff for
Rashimu.
decades already. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, Shimo. So for me, going out to the forest and in nature is like major, like part of the kind of avodat Hashem that I aspire to have. Um, but I think more importantly, I feel like when you walk around in anything that's growing naturally, you're walking around Retzon Hashem, because the blades of grass and the birds landing on the branches or whatever it is is an expression of the way Hashem wanted the world to be. As humans, so we come and we sometimes we improve, sometimes we ruin, we do all kinds of things. But Retzon Hashem is you take a walk by the forest or by park or just sit by the sea, and the waves are doing exactly what Hashem wants them to do. So it's a great expression of that.
It's like I'm trying to think where I'm focusing on the podcast, but my mind's thinking about where's the closest forest here in Michigan. Where can
I'll
No,
show you.
Michigan has
show me
some
where?
beautiful. Yeah, and my wife is from Ann Arbor, and there's a place they call the Arb,
Sure, there are
and
many been
other
there.
amazing places that really very really, I mean, beautiful. Like
A question for you with this idea, and like I want to thank you again for this. A lot of times you hear music, but you don't get the owner's manual. But here you are telling us that, like, listen, with this music, you're telling us the story behind it and the emotions that you want to help people feel and tap into. It's important because your music. I listen to it, but honestly, I've never listened to it. I'm always rushing. I'm getting in the office, going home to pick up the kids, to make the bread, make the pizza. Running around, pay the bill,
In the
and,
kitchen.
and in the kitchen, and listening to music. And my music, in my kitchen, we blast music. In the car, we blast music. My kids sometimes tell me to turn it down. Okay, but I think about what you're saying, and maybe I should listen to music when I'm lying down or just relaxing. Like, what is the owner's manual? Because not everyone is going to be able to come Motzei Shabbat, l'chvod Havdalah, to your house for the Havdalah ceremony. But like, I know I'm inspired right now, and some listeners might be inspired. Wow, I'm speaking to this guy, Yitzhak Attias. He's living a different world. The way he connects to music, like I don't. Maybe it's because of my fast-paced life. But what would you recommend, either through your music or someone else's music, whatever? You made the product. The music is there. Like the birds are in the music. The shells are in the music. What is the next step for me? I'm a busy guy. Moshe Share is in Metro Detroit. How can I have my music not just be an entertaining thing, but like and a nice way to pass the time with a nice beat? How can it be a spiritual experience to get into it? That's the question for you.
mhm. So obviously, I can't, tell you what to do, what not to do. But it's a really um, wonderful thing if you can dedicate, steal, literally steal time from your day, and it could be 5 minutes. It could be at any point that you think it's a practical thing to do. Not when the kids are going to call you, or it's got to be a time where you really know that you got about an hour, or whatever it is that you're going to be left alone. And if you can place yourself in anything that's going to be, again, part of that world of Ratzon Hashem, it could just be looking at the sky. If you have some sky, I'm sure they have sky there, right?
Yeah,
In Michigan.
we
Yeah.
got it. We have it here
Um,
too.
trees are amazing. Just to look at a tree swaying, and just anything like that um, is already, I think, bechinat hitbodedut, which is like secluding yourself within yourself. Um, you can do at nighttime, you can do very early in the morning, whatever his schedule is. Um, I heard many, many, many years ago, in the name of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, though I don't know if he said this or not, but anyway, it's still a beautiful statement. Music is something that takes you from where you are to where you want to be. From where you are to where you want to be. In other words, music is really an expression of your aspiration. And, you know, the Baal Shem Tov says that you are where your thoughts are. And Rabbi Nachman said that the power of yearning is real, meaning don't underestimate that. Hashem doesn't just measure us by the actions and mitzvot that we did, but Hashem is so way beyond anything we can imagine that even our aspirations to do something is counted as something awesome by Him, by God, by Hashem. So I think music is an expression of that. I think music. I know for me, like music reminds me that the world is beautiful sometimes when things are hard. And even when the music is just sad, it still has that like it has that ability to bring out the beauty really in the poetry in whatever one is going through. We have to learn a lot from movies. Can you imagine if you'd be seeing a movie where there's like a crime scene, or there's a guy climbing into a window about to burglar a house, but there's no soundtrack. You just see a guy walking through a window, and or a love scene, a very delicate, some kind of moment between a father and a son. Whenever the producer of the movie wants to convey, or the director, I don't know who does it, but wants to convey a sense of emotion, that's we're going to be hearing that little piano going bling blang blang. Whoa, and everybody starts crying. Everybody starts crying because there's music, and. So I feel like it's to do with your desire, and it's to do with uh, stealing from your day a little bit of time to say, this is Kodesh for me, like literally, it's holy for me, and I need to do this. I need to give myself that space. And you don't have to listen to my music. You can listen to there's such beautiful music nowadays. I mean, honestly, I don't know about in the States if you get the music that's going on here in Israel, but some beautiful stuff happening here.
For example, what's
Yeah,
something?
can you
Yeah,
share with us because we want to speak to.
I mean, for sure. I mean, like Ishai Ribo for sure. People like that, and there's a guy called Akiva, and I mean, my kids are listening to this music. I'm not so exposed to that, but Ishai Ribo and Ishai Ribo's music is now heard all over Israel. All over Israel by secular. My son went to one of his concerts. He said that most of the people there were singing along with them. None of them were religious. Most of them were not religious. So there's something happening with the music that is really, I think, it's transmitting kedusha more than most shishurim. It is because it's going into people's homes.
Rabbi Yitzhak, did you ever write a sad song?
Well, when you say sad, do you mean what do you mean by that?
Music that's expressing an idea of sadness, maybe a
challenge, struggle. What do you mean?
struggle, like a song that somebody would sing when they are in a low place.
I have to tell you that I don't. I don't really write songs in the in the classical sense. I don't normally I don't sit down and I write a song. The song comes to me, and I could spend months, sometimes years, chanting it, and the words begin to come to me. So I'm not gonna say sad, but yes, yeah, songs of yearning, and yeah, definitely. I can, if you're speaking about things that I've written. So um, excuse me. There's a song called Samhuni. Um, Samhuni is in Hashimu. Yeah, from Shir Shirim, Korakavod, yeah. Um, so, there's certain times at least for me, it happens rarely, but when it happens, it's worth everything, and it's worth the wait, and that is when certain things align. When, for example, when you're going through something in your life, and you happen to pick up a Sefer Tehillim, and you happen to see a pasuk that is an exact expression of what you're going through, and for whatever reason, there happens to be a song or something that somehow expresses that also, and it happens to me sometimes, not very often, but it does happen to me. So Samhuni is a good example of that, because actually I was in the forest at nighttime, a forest not too far from here at nighttime, and this melody came to me, and it happened to be that I was learning something on Rav Nachman, um, about, actually, it's a very beautiful thought, that sometimes the neshama needs to be pampered. The neshama just needs oneg. Just sometimes we just need medush neoneg. Where people who are in condition to be in a state of oneg. That's why Hashem gave us Shabbat, because we sublime. We're sublime neshamot. So, and he speaks about that then, and it just happens to be that I was actually walking by these very broad trees, and Samhuni Bashishot really means let me. In Shir Shirim says, let me lie down on broad uh, trees. Really, Ashishot, like, there's different understandings of Ashishot, because Ashishot also mean some kind of frosted, almost like a mirror, or some kind of. But let me have like a vision of you, Hashem, that even if it's frosted, but I'll have some kind of impression of you. But the aspect that I was interested in is like this idea of, like, the neshama sometimes needs to repose, and we know that's true because Motzei Shabbat in Havdalah we smell the besamim, because the neshama has gone through trauma, even if we don't consciously feel it. But the fact that it had that neshama yetara that with it the whole Shabbat, and then the neshama yetara leaves, then the trauma leaves us sort of with a sense of lacking, and that's why we smell the besamim, to sort of revive ourselves. So it is there, even halakhically. Um, and so for me, Samhuni was an expression of that. Samhuni Bashishot, Rabdunim Batapuchim, really almost like, pamper me, Hashem, because I'm Yicholat Habani, because I'm sort of lovesick, for you, and so is it? Yeah, I mean, it's a sad song in that it was expressing, I guess, a sense of feeling a sense of rejection, or where are you, Hashem, in my life, that kind of thing that the one feels sometimes. And yeah, it was expressed in that song.
Beautiful, and a beautiful song.
Yitzhak, my next question is, the songs that are on both of your albums, were those results of music that you created over a number of years? You didn't. I mean, I'm saying, once you had enough. Some people say I have to record because I have fans of my music and they're expecting my music, so I have to produce something. But it sounds that we're talking about maybe 15 years between your recordings, and I don't know how long it took to build up to the first recording. I imagine for you, it's I have you decided for yourself. I have enough material now that came organically that I can now put it to a recording.
So I'll tell you, with with me, it happened a little differently. I recorded Gather Sparks many years ago, embarrassingly long, many years ago. Gather Sparks, and Gather Sparks was really an expression of my first, I would say, about 7, 8 years of sort of having sort of the teshuva process. That was sort of my expression of all those years.
But
Um,
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful album. It
thank you,
doesn't.
thank you.
It's not immature in any way. It's.
And then what happened
What
was that thank God, we started having children, and my priorities shifted. As much as I'm a musician, I happen to be a pretty straight guy, and I told myself I can't do this. I can't do this. I'd love to do this, but I can't do this. And for many years, I mean, literally for a couple of decades, actually, I took up doing graphics. That's what I did. In fact, I was working for the H.com website for like 14 and a half years. Yeah, it was amazing to work with them. And that's what I did because I needed to support my family. Um, and I would carry on playing. People would call me, and most gigs I couldn't do. A lot of people wanted me to tour with them in South America, North America, in Australia, and I couldn't do that because I was working. Um, that became my priority. And But you see, what happens is that when you the actual constriction, like David Amelech says, "Batzar hirchavtali," that was in Tehillim. In my narrowness, you have broadened me. So what happens is that sometimes when you're placed in almost like a pressure cooker, the creativity doesn't go away. It's just under under the surface, and it carries on growing, and sometimes it grows in a really interesting way. So I remember walking in and out of the old city, going to work in the H offices, and on my way there, having different ideas, and in my mind go, I wish I could, yeah, and maybe I could. What about this arrangement, that arrangement, this lyric, that, and it begins to build up in my mind, and this was years and years, and then at one point, uh, towards the end of me working for H, a very close friend of mine who's a very wonderful musician also and a wonderful person, um, said to me, how would you like to record an album? I said, I can't do that. And he said to me, look, I have a certain amount of money, and I can help you. And I said, no, come on, man. He said, you know, I wanted, I want you to record. I said, I just, I, I'm going to start recording right now. I don't have time. He said, think about it. I'm willing to give you a certain amount of money and just go ahead and record it. And then, so then, yeah, and it took me for 4.5 years to record Rashimu. Uh, yeah, for different reasons. But so that was the process. It was, and it's not a question. I don't have fans. I don't have a. I mean, there's no record label that I need to answer to. It just is this need to express myself, and and it ends up, coming up into this an album so that's really it for me. It's almost like a very natural thing to do, and I don't honestly. If I know that it's not thousands of people that, or maybe not even hundreds of people, or whoever it. If when I'm told, and people sometimes tell me, when I'm told by one individual that this or that song that I recorded somehow put them in some kind of good place, that for me is it's amazing, much amazing. Just for me, that's what it's all about. And I never know. It's the thing, I never know who these people are.
And most of them don't tell you. That's how it works.
when did you release Rishimo?
The Shimu actually wrote it down here because otherwise I wouldn't have remembered. 2012. Yeah,
That's maybe 25 years after your first album.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah. So 25 years was basically I was just I started graphics, and then I just that's what I did for all the time. But I never stopped. The music was always within me. It's an interesting thing. Music. I feel like sometimes through the Hagim or whatever. Like I play every day, and I teach percussion, so I have to be pretty much try to be in the best form that I can be. But sometimes there's periods of times that I can't play. If I'm traveling or the Hagim or whatever. And when I get back to my instrument, I always find that even though I haven't touched the instrument, something has moved. Like it's almost like I've been playing internally, and so I feel like the 25 years that I didn't wasn't really out in the world so much. Um, I don't think the music stopped. I think the music just carried on, and I guess maybe I hope it became more mature.
They said that the author of Kelm, he waited 20 years from when he had a chidush, when he thought of a new Torah thought, right? And before he actually shared it with anyone else, so it could it could gestate, it could digest it, it could become a part of him before
Cook
he
it a little
shared
bit.
it. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well,
Is there like is there a musician, just to change topic a little bit, is there a musician that you most enjoy playing with?
no, that's the thing. I can't because there's a lot of people that I know, and if I say one person, then they might not be there. But no, but I have to say something that one of the things I love most about music is accompanying somebody. I like I just love sitting well, not behind. I don't like sitting behind a musician because I love looking at the face, and I love listening, looking at the fingers. Um, I love playing music that is completely un um, mostly like when we haven't really rehearsed or anything. And my challenge is to just be with that musician and go where they go. And I mean, literally, you have to be on your tippy toes. And there's something very exhilarating about that, and making that person hopefully sound better and not getting in the way of his playing, and also it's I've also it's a big yetzer really as a percussionist, because normally I bring very interesting looking things, and very often the people in the audience haven't really seen some of these things before, so it's very easy for me to draw attention to myself, and then what happens is I'm not really being honest. Music also has this point of honesty and emet, and for the music to be played in an honest way, then I have to be able to play exactly what the music is requiring, as opposed to you know let me do something that's going to impress people. And it's always, I have to say, it's always almost like a yetzer, like it's a temptation to do that. I also need my ego, patted on the back, and but I think that in answer to your question, um, yeah, I think I prefer not to say who, because I feel uncomfortable if somebody. But all I can say is that I feel like with everybody that I played, there's always moments I really cherish, because the challenge is, how can I be with this person as much as I can be, and make them sound good.
Yeah, I'll tell you a personal thank you is that, like, with Rabbi Lift's album, I don't know if you remember it. It was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, I do remember. I remember it was recorded in Jeff Horowitz's studio. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, 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 exactly, a warehouse. Yeah.
Right, like in I don't know what it's called, Confidential up there in the warehouse or something. So I, I helped her live with the songs, and I actually performed one of my own songs over there, and I played it, and I just played it on guitar myself. Never did it in the studio, but I played it over there. I don't know if you know the name Kobe Clar.
Yeah, he's a bass guitarist.
Yeah, so Kobe played the bass. Yeah, and then you and you played percussion, and it made me feel so good. And even now, I'm thinking about the song. Just and remember, I was not there when you recorded. Remember, Liv told me you came in there with like a whole bunch of Kalim Shonim, yeah, Kalim Shonim, and not many takes, and it could be that's just how you do it. It just went in there, and sometimes I have a style when I play. Every style is the same kind of. I mean, I have different styles, but those songs in maybe 10 songs, everyone's got its own little something and a little different sound. And like you said about accompanying, I want to thank you because you made me sound good, Yitzhak.
I'm
But
sure you
really,
said that.
when I think about the power of percussion, sometimes percussion, people think of percussion as the guy in the back, but when you do percussion, it really it's an instrument. It's not just there to keep. It's not a metro. It's not a fancy metronome. You know. So thank you.
Wow, that's what makes me feel good. Thank you. Thank you.
And Yitzhak, is there anything that we should have asked that you want to share with listeners, with any musicians, people are interested in Jewish music? Anything that any message you'd like to share before we go?
As much as what I just expressed now, as much as, at least in music, or for that matter in anything, when you're working somebody else's project, then it's really important to identify what the vision of the person is, and to just go with that, and to try and hear what is your vision, and to try and lend your energy to that particular vision as much as you can, and to know that the priority right now is that this person's vision be able to be expressed. Okay, in music or any other project. At the same time, I really feel that you can lose your own personal voice like that. Um, you can lose your own. You. There is this pull to sort of blend or blend in, with what's going on right now around you, and just become an imitator, just imitating everybody else. And I know for me, it was challenging, but I just kept telling myself, and I have, thank God, very good friends who remind me this. I wasn't born in Mesharim. I wasn't born in Mesharim. I wasn't born in the Geula. I wasn't born in Haranov. I wasn't. And I wasn't born in Williamsburg. I wasn't born in. I was born in Gibraltar, and I am who I am, and I'm really into Rab Nachman, and I'm, really into Ramchal, and at the same time, I learn Shulchan Aruch every single day. I'm try to be as halakhic as I can be. Whatever I know, I keep. Hopefully. Um, at the same time, I'm very much of an artist. I love going out into the countryside. I love colorful people. I love. I'm very much into a universal kind of trying to transmit the Jewish thing, mamash, the Jewish thing, but to people who are not Jewish in a beautiful way, in an aesthetic way. I believe in all these things, and none of this is invalid. I hope, hope none of this is invalid. And therefore, it's it was challenging, but very rewarding, and it still is rewarding for me to just be me, and to add my little color, um, to what's out there. And hopefully not asserting myself too much, but on the other hand, not just hiding in a little crack somewhere and staying there. And I would encourage uh, people, that to come up with, to find your own sound, to find your own voice, and to share it, share it, because that's the main thing. Like Hashem wants us to add our own little, little letter of the Torah, and there's a Gemara that says that the Navi, should not be kovesh at nevuatot. He should not hold back his nevuah. And God forbid, obviously, I'm not a Navi, and none of us are. But what that tells me um, is that when you have something to share, that and it's authentic, it's you, it's sincere, it has integrity, then you really, it's a sin not to share it. It's really important to be able to, and then 15 people might like it. 15 people. So those 15 people would not have been able to have lived without your particular nigun or song or idea or whatever it is. And then the rest of humanity doesn't care a hoot about who you are, and they will never listen to your music. But the 15 people, they needed that, and they could not have survived without that. And that's what I feel. And
What a beautiful thought. Thank you so much, Yitzhak. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yalla. Hashem should bless all of your efforts here.
Amen. And you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as Moshe and I enjoyed having it and connecting with Yitzhak Attias. Now, if you would like to promote or sponsor the Jewish Music Platform's next episode, give me an email at ravtuvnetwork@gmail.com, ravtuvnetwork@gmail.com. We are accepting Zelle at that email address. And like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends about us. Help spread the word. Help us explore Jewish music, the emerging artists, and off the beaten path Jewish musical innovators. In the meantime, please enjoy the video that we discussed on the podcast, The Trippy Ezkira by Yitzhak Attias.
Ezkera neginati balaila Levavi asija Baixa pesuji Ezkera neginati balaila עם לב אבי השיחה ויחפשו la oscuridad y silenciosa noche recordaré melodías ay mi corazón y buscará mi alma errante más allá de los montes, ay, eterno Dios. בלילה עם לבבי השיחה